Today is Tuesday. It is Chafhei Cheshvan Tafshin Ayin Dalid. We are in the Mamar of Shabbos Pashas Chayei Sara, Mevarchim HaChedesh Kislev Tafshin Yud Beis, Dibur HaMaskil Vayihiyu Chayei Sara, and we are on page Kuf Samach Beis. We are just at the end of the quote that the Rebbe brings from the Zohar, which is 11 lines from the bottom. The line starts V'tzorech L'hovin. Just to recap in short, the Rebbe starts the Maimer on the Pasuk Vayihiyu Chayei Sara Meir Shana V'Esrim Shana V'Sheva Shana V'Shnei Chayei Sara, and the days and the life of Sara the life of Sara was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. These are the years of Sarah's life. Yeah. So basically it means that when Sarah lived, the life of Sarah was 127 years, and these are the years of Sarah's life. So the Rebbe brought from the Zohar the question, why is it that concerning Sarah, again I made a bracha already, so because it's recorded, you got to be very careful because it's recorded.
Don't you have to make a new Shiur call if you change places? If you move from one premises
I drank in the house. First of all, I had in mind, but I drank in the house, and I drank in the car, and I drank on the way from the car to here.
So you don't have to make a new Shiur call.
So anyway, so the Zohar asks, why concerning Sarah does the Torah record all the details pertaining to her death, how many years she lived, and so on and so forth, whereas concerning all the others, it does not. Even though there are some that their death is recorded in the Torah, but not in such detail like concerning Sarah. What does that mean? There are different. First of all, how long she lived is recorded. Also, it says it breaks it down. Right? Meir shana, esrim shana, v'sheva shanim. The Zohar even says that by concerning them, the days and the years are not counted like by Sarah. I'm not quite sure what that's a reference to concerning the days, but anyway. So the Rebbe explains, the Zohar explains that if you take, for example, Chava came into the world and she became attached, or the snake became attached to her, and the snake inserted impurity, scum, into Chava. And so too through Noach, although he did good things and he was a tzaddik and so on and so forth. However, what happened later on? He drank from the wine and he became drunk, and then something negative came from it. The bottom line is that concerning all the others, their descent into this world was for a good purpose, and they did do good things, as it were, with tzaddikim, but their ascent wasn't completely intact. Whereas Sarah descended into this world and ascended from this world completely intact. And not only that, she lifted those around her together with her. And through that, she also lifted the lives of all the others, like Chava and Noach and so on and so forth, lifted their lives as well. And that is why she merited to Chayin Iloin, the supernal life, as it were. Right? And that is why her life is considered life. That's the Zohar, more or less, in a nutshell. So we're up to V'tzorech L'hovin. It says the Rebbe, V'tzorech L'hovin, page Kuf Samach Beis, 11 lines from the bottom. V'tzorech L'hovin, we need to understand the Meyach, Harshe Shailas HaZohar, Hi Maish No Sora Mikol Nashei Di Almo. Since what the Zohar is asking is, why is Sarah different? Why is Sarah singled out from all other women in the world? And in fact, that is the appropriate question, because as the Rebbe says in the brackets, Masha'enkim ba'anoshim, because not so concerning men, Matzina we find, Shenemar bahem lashon Vayihiyu Chayei Gomer. This phrase, or this description, as we find concerning Sarah, we do find by other men. K'may ba'Avraham, Yishmael, Yitzchak, Yaakov, for example, concerning Avraham, Yishmael, Yitzchak, Yaakov, where the Torah does say, and their lives were, and goes on to enumerate how many years they lived, right? So the question of Sarah, the question the Zohar asks is, Why is Sarah singled out from all of the women? But later on, what does the Zohar bring in response? It also brings the example of Noach, right? If that's the case, if we're only contrasting Sarah relative to other women, why does the Zohar, in its response, bring also what? Whom? Noach. And from the context, it seems that it's all one theme. That which was ruined by Chava and ruined by Noach was fixed and brought to its state of perfection through Sarah. We need to understand what is the idea behind this. Question number 1 on the Zohar. Clear?
Yeah.
Gam tzarich lahavin. We also need to understand another point that Rebbe makes. Mashakosov b'siyam hakosov shnei Chayei Sara. Why does the pasuk repeat itself at the end of the verse, concluding the verse? These are the years of Sarah. The lechuru kfal loshen. It would seem that this is a double expression, meaning to say it's superfluous. Why? In other words, the Torah is repeating itself. Because it already says in the beginning of the pasuk, Vayihiyu Chayei Sara, and it was the life of Sarah. The life of Sarah was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years, right? Why repeat it? Say these are the years of Sarah. This is the life of Sarah. Then move on, and mostly it's not understood based upon that which is explained in other Mamorim of Chassidus. Why concerning Sarah does it say 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years? This points to the completeness of the refinement in all levels, which was accomplished specifically through Sarah. That Sarah accomplished shleimus. Sarah did things properly, and she accomplished things in full. Full in all levels. Where do we see this? So the Rebbe says, Ubehakdim. First, by prefacing Hayudua, that which is known, She'ikir habirur naase alidei ha'imah dafke. In the husband and wife partnership of the Ovis and the Imahas, the forefathers and the patriarchs and the matriarchs, the main birur, the main refinement, the main accomplishment of the task was actually performed through whom? Through the mothers. That is why this is the meaning of that which says concerning Sarah. She was the first of the 4 mothers. What does the pasuk say? The Torah Hashem instructs Avraham Avinu, Koil asher teimar elecha Sarah shma bekoila. Whatever Sarah will say to you, listen to her voice. Listen to her. Listen to what she says to you. Why? Why is that? V'hainu, this is because the Fisha ha'avis, because the forefathers, hit iman HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'olam hazeh, the Eibishter, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the forefathers a taste of, in this world, he gave them a taste of, a bit of a taste of what's going to be in the world to come. And concerning the time to come, it says in Yirmiyahu, Nekei v'ataseviv gover, the female will surround the male. That is a reference to what is going to be when Mashiach comes. That when Mashiach comes, the female will be, in a revealed way, on a higher level than what? It'll be revealed that the nekeva, that the female is greater than the male. That is also incidentally the reason, I believe, why when it comes to the chuppah, it is the kala that circles the chosn rather than the other way around. Right? Also, a reference to the times of the Asid Lavim and what? When the nekeva will be greater than the male. Because the shirish of the nekeva is higher than Zohar, right? Nekeva is Malchus, Zohar is Zoh, right? Or more specifically, Chesed. So even though we say that Ishtalshalus, Zoh is higher than, the Midas are higher than what? Than Malchus. But the way it works, as we know, is that whatever is revealed at a higher level and revealed at a lower level, in the Shayrish, really what? Is the lower one that's rooted higher. That's why, for example, Olam Hazeh Atach, in this physical world, is the ultimate purpose of creation. Because that, even though in the Seder Shtashel is the lowest of all the realms, in Shayrish it's mushrish where? It's rooted where? In Atzmos and very essence of Hashem. Similarly, when we talk about the Midas and Malchus, Zohar and the Kevos, even though Zohar is higher and the Keva is lower, Zohar and Malchus or Chesed and Gvura, however you want to put it, nevertheless, in the Shayrish, in the source, the Keva is higher, and that will be Nizgal, that will be revealed when Mashiach comes. So since since the Eibishter gave the Ovis, the forefathers, in this world, he gave them a taste of the world to come, therefore he told them, I'm giving you a taste of the world to come, listen to your wife. What was the point though? The point was that by the Ovis is Nizgala Gevorn, was revealed the fact that the Nekeb is higher than the Zohar. So now the Rebbe goes back and with this he explains why concerning Sara it says, what was the idea that Rebbe explained? The Rebbe explained that the Imahis, the mothers were actually the ones who carried out the main birur, the main work, the main refinement was through the Imahis, right? And the Rebbe used that in order to explain why concerning Sara it says, Me'ah shana v'esrim shana v'sheva shana 100 years, 20 years and 7 years, and that denotes shleimus, wholesomeness in Avodas Hashem. Where do we see this? This is also why concerning Sara it says 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. Shekoi al kol protei hamadreges. If we look at this closely, this is actually an elaboration of all the detailed levels. How? Dihine. Me'ah shana koi al b'chinas hakeser. 100 years refers to the level of keser. Shehu inyan haschalas hagili shel metzius mechutz laha'atzmas. What is keser? Generally speaking, right? When we speak about keser in general, this is the beginning of the revelation of existence, the existence of light outside of the very essence of Hashem. So keser is still, as it were, within the domain of the Creator, right? It's higher than Atzilus, it's higher than the spheres, the 10 spheres, but it's the first point of the revelation of Oir, outside of the very essence of Hashem. First point of emanation of divine light that's what Keser is. Now, how does 100 refer to Keser? Shezeu, as Kidua, as it's known, Kidua as it's known, being concerning numbers, Sheme'os, hundreds, Koi ala Keser. The number 100 or the hundreds refer to Keser, that's a number that corresponds to Keser. Although sometimes we find Shegam Mispar Elef Revova, Chulu Koi ala Keser, that also the number of 1,000 or 10,000, Revova is 100,000, I think. Shishim Ribui, 60, no, it's 10,000. Shishim Ribui is 60 10,000s. That's 600,000, right? So it's 10,000. So sometimes we find that the number 1,000 or 10,000 refers to Keser. So why are we saying 100? This is when we talk about Keser as it is for itself. Basically, before we go on, we know that in Keser there are two parts to Keser, or two levels in Keser. There's Pnimiyus HaKeser and Chitzonius HaKeser, or known otherwise as Atik Yomin and Arich Ampin. There's the part of Keser which is called Atik Yomin, the one of old age, and then there's Arich Ampin, the one with the big face, or the big parts of, as it were, right? What's the difference between the two? Just like we if you remember, we explained concerning Malchus. And Malchus is the part, is a sphere which takes all those that precede it and transmits it further. However, it has two parts to it. There's the part of Malchus, which it receives from all the preceding ones. And then you have the part of Malchus that transmits. Similarly, when we talk about Keser, since you're moving from the boire, as it were, the netzal, the matzil, to the netzalim, you're moving from the creator to the created, as it were, right? From the essence to the realms, and to say there's talshalus. So Keser is the first point of revelation of Ur, as we just said, from Atzmas, first point of revelation of this emanation, the emanation from the very essence of Hashem. So you have the Atikemin aspect of Keser, which is the part which relates more to the creator, the above, and then you have, that's Atikemin, then you have Arich Ampin, which is already what? The part of Keser that relates to those below. So similarly here, when we talk about numbers, so when we talk about thousands and 10,000s, that's a number that corresponds to Keser as it is for itself, which is basically what? The higher level of Keser, the higher aspect of Keser. But that aspect of Keser, as it becomes a source and a root and a source for the Ne'etzalim, for those that are going to be emanated, Bechinas Arich, specifically what? The aspect of Keser which is referred to as Arich Ampin, the Chetzenis of Keser, Hu b'mispar meya. That's when we talk about the reference of the number of 100 as a reference to, as corresponding to Keser. Specifically, which aspect of Keser? Arich. Why 100? Why? What's the significance of the number 100? Share mispar meya hu eser kolul me eser. Because the number 100 is 10 times 10. So what? Shezeu tachas hashleimus. This is the ultimate shleimus, the ultimate completeness. Why? Because we know that there are how many spheres? How many attributes, divine attributes are there? 10. When we talk about each sphere is a composite from all the other spheres, right? Made up of all the other spheres. So it's, each one is 10 times 10. Where do you have that in its full shleimus? In Keser.
Yeah.
Shezeu tachas hashleimus. V'hu bechinas hakeser kfi shehu loy bechinas nekudas sfira ela gam kfi shehu bechinas partzuf. This is the aspect of Keser, not as it is a point on its own. And a sfira, in other words, you're not just looking at Keser on its own, you're looking at Keser fleshed out, as it were. But we're still within Keser. But in Keser itself, you have Keser as a sfira, just like you have concerning all the other attributes. You have Chochmah, then you have Chochmah Shebechachmah, Bina Shebechachmah, so on and so forth, right? So too you have Keser as is on its own, but then you have Keser as it is fleshed out still within itself. But the 10 spheres made up of all the other 10, Gam kfi shehu bechinas partzuf, as it is in the mode of a complete form, as it were. Meaning to say, sheyesh bekol pratim madreges, that it has already all the detailed levels, sheklalusam hum mispar meya. Generally, what are we talking about? The number 100, because you're talking Keser fleshed out, it means, in other words, as the spheres already, as these divine attributes are already, let me put it to you this way. Keser is the Sheresh Mokeh for all the spheres, right? It's the source of all the spheres. So, each of the spheres has a link to Keser. So those links, those fine source links, as they are
In potential,
but already there as a source, and each one included from the other, that is the idea of the number 100, and it's a reference to Keser.
Is there Keser separately? I think you've got 10 plus Keser, so is it Keser but Keser?
Keser is not one of the spheres.
Right. So that's 11.
So you're talking about, let's put it this way, yes, but so that's why he says it's not Keser as it's in the Kudah. That's exactly the point. Not Keser in the mode where Keser is on its own, where it's Keser, but you're talking about Keser as it is already in a mode of being a source. So in other words, if you look at the development, or to say their shtashlos, how it works, right? Again, for purposes of clarity, it's being dissected in such a way. But that's the way the system works. So you have Keser as a unit, right? You have, then, if you start breaking it down, there's Pnimis HaKeser, then there's Chetzenis HaKeser, one comes from the other. And in Chetzenis HaKeser itself, you also have, or in Keser itself, you have the way Keser is the first point of its revelation, as it were, where it's Keser, but then it moves from there to becoming a source for all the spheres, 10 times 10. So when it's in the mode of being a source for all the spheres, where you have 10 times 10, that's Meya. That's 100. Now the Rebbe says something very interesting. If that's the case, why does it say Shana Lashon Yachid? Meya Shana. If we're talking about Keser, as it's already 10 times 10, in its finest point, in the finest way possible, right? As a source for all for the 10 spheres that are going to follow, and not only that, but 10 times 10. So it should have said Meya Shonim. I would have thought, right? It says the Rebbe, nonetheless, Meya Shana Lashon Yachid. It says Meya Shana, 100 year. It says year in the singular tense. Why? Ki hakeser hu hamemutza ben hamaitzel v'hanetzalim. Because Kesed is, as we just mentioned, what's the idea of Kesed in general? Kesed is the intermediary between the emanator and those that are going to be emanated from him. Or let's use the creator and created beings. So it's not creation as such, but the Maitzel and Netzalim. The emanator and those that will be emanated from him. Right? V'chol memutza, and every intermediary tzarich sheyiyeh b'ay mishtei habchinas shum memutza b'neihem. And every intermediary needs to contain of both modes, between whom he is the intermediary. In other words, it needs to have of the one above him, and it needs to also contain of the one to follow, the one below him. So it needs it needs to have from the lowest of the one that precedes him, the one that's above him, and from the highest level of the one lower than him that's going to follow. Therefore, even the lowest level of the one that emanates, although she is only the lowest one, the lowest level, but still of the one above, that's why it's called Shana in the singular. I'm sorry, that's why it's called Shana, time. Which is an indication that it has some kind of relationship to the confinements and the descriptions of time, right? Nonetheless, it is still the lowest level of what? Of the emanator, of the one above. That's why it says Shana in the singular. In other words, how do you describe something that has some relationship to time, but is still beyond time? That it has of both. It has of the confines and the characterizations of time, but yet it's still associated with one above. So you use a phrase that denotes that it has an association with time, but at the same time, the same phrase could express that it's beyond. It has still connection to something which is beyond time. That's why it's Shana, time, but Shana Lashon Yachid in the singular to indicate that it's not full-fledged time because it still has what? An association with the one above. So that's why concerning Keser, it says Meya Shana. Mitzvah Shem more tomorrow.